Jared, and I'm Trevor, and we're going to show you how to replace your inner tie rod on a rack and pinion steering. Alright, so the first step to removing your inner tie rod is you got to remove the tire. We've already done that. So the next step you have to do is, on some cases, you will have a cotter pin on the outer tie rod, which this one does not, so we're just going to remove the nut. Because I already said what we're doing. Alright, now that we have removed the nut, now that we have the nut off, we have a tie rod puller tool. There it goes. Now that that's popped off, we can take the inner tie rod out, and now we have to take the inner tie rod off, and we have to loosen this jam nut and then turn it off. So we can remove the outer tie rod end link. Count how many turns you go out. Alright, that was 21 turns. Yeah. Now that you know how many turns you can go out, you can use that and turn it that many times in so your alignment's not off. You'll still have to do an alignment check after you put this all back together though. The next step is you have to remove this jam nut, then remove this clamp, this inner clamp on the bellows boot. Alright, now we can remove the outer clamp on the bellows boot. So now we have to take off these Redneck Engineering zip ties in order to remove the bellows boot. Now that we cut the zip ties, we can take the bellows boot off and remove it. And remove the get to the inner tie rod. And that is what the inner tie rod looks like. The next step is in order to remove the inner tie rod, you need this special tool. You find the adapter that fits onto here, and then you connect it to here, and using a 1/2" wrench ratchet you can remove the inner tie rod. And this is an inner tie rod remover tool for a rack and pinion. Should fit right on there. Alright, now we can start ratcheting it off. And now that it's loose, you can do it by hand. And there you go. And now you have successfully removed an inner tie rod. There it is. Just got back from the parts store and got my new inner tie rod, as you can see. Now we can install it on the car. Just keep recording. So now we got our new part. You gotta install the tool back onto the new inner tie rod. And then we can put it back on there and start threading it back on. Now that it's snug, we can ratchet it up and torque it to spec. Okay, so now that it's snug, all we need to do is just torque it down to 74 foot-pounds for this 2002 Taurus. Now Now we can put on a new bellows boot and a new zip tie to tighten it down. I'd recommend using a worm clamp or a screw clamp to tighten one of these up, but our shop is currently out of screw clamps, so we have to use a zip tie. Okay, now that we got the inner clamp on, we can put the outer clamp on now. This is much easier with a tool that's meant for these clamps, but most people won't have that tool, so you can use pliers and it'll fit right on.
We can reinstall the jam nut and then put on the outer tie rod.
Just put the jam nut pretty far back, and then you put the inner tie rod in as many turns as you did the first time when you took it off, and then you can just tighten this jam nut back up to the tie rod. You can stop it. I said in previously in the video, we gotta do 21 turns. 1. That's 21. Then we can tighten this jam nut up. And tighten it with the wrench. So now we have to tighten the jam nut, and it's reverse thread, so we have to put it on the off on the torque wrench. And that is to 41 foot-pounds.
Now we can reinstall our castle nut on our outer tie rod, torque it to spec, and then we can replace the cotter pin.
And the torque spec is 41. Now we can put the cotter pin in. And how you install a cotter pin, you fold the bottom one over, flush with the bolt, with the stud, and you cut this end off, flush, and then you get this flush with the stud, and then cut the end of this off. And that is how you properly remove and install an inner tie rod and an outer tie rod. Alignment when it's done too.